Thank you guys for joining me for another episode of Keeping It Real with America's Supermom. I am excited about my next guest. I believe we got connected on LinkedIn. I don't know. We've talked and I feel like I've known her for years from one conversation. Okay. And then we were talking before this video, and I'm like, girl, we need to hit record because we're going to be done and the interview time is over.
Right.
So I am so excited to have Sparkle with me today.
Right.
And so we're going to get into some great conversation. Not sure where we're headed, but we're excited to be here. So before we get into some great conversation, I want to give her the floor to introduce herself.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Like you said, I'm glad you hit the record button. We've been talking for hours talking about we didn't even record.
Yes.
Um, no, I do. I feel like I've known you forever. I think it's been it's just a great opportunity to just be on here and just be able to talk and do some things. I always like to talk in the moment because so much has happened since the time that we talked the first time
Okay. Yeah.
in life. Period. And what I can say is that I am a motivational keynote speaker, author, and a nationally certified recovery coach and trainer. And things are just blossoming with my company, Sparkle LLC, the light at the end of the tunnel.
I love that. And so, recovery is something that just
Mhm.
really makes my ears perk up because so many people have been affected with this pandemic and are going through it still. And so, when you talk about recovery, how does that pertain to people right now? How would they benefit from what you do?
Recovery pertains to people right now in getting to know yourself better.
Mm,
Recovery is not just alcohol and addiction.
mm-hmm,
Recovery is mind, body, spirit, full recovery.
mm-hmm,
Just because you may not have a drinking issue or a drugging issue doesn't mean you don't have an addiction issue. Now, what that addiction might be to, who knows? But if it's something that's bothering you or getting in the way of your everyday life, it's an
mm-hmm.
addiction.
I love
So,
it.
how can you get underneath that addiction? That's what I ask. I don't just work with alcoholic addicts. I work with people who battle addiction to codependency,
Mm,
um, battle addiction to being needed. That's a big part of my addiction is
mm-hmm,
wanting to be needed. So I'll do anything to fix it.
mm,
Turn, I being a fixer is also an addiction, and I can enable others because of that. So
mm.
being aware of those things for me helps me see things for what they are and be mindful of it because the major addictions are not alcohol and addiction, although that is my addiction. That's
Mhm.
only a symptom of what's actually going on with me.
I love that. And so, for having this awareness, because, I went 13 years in depression, 3 hospitalizations
Mhm.
before I really figured out what was going on. So,
Right.
for other people that are watching and they're like, oh, you know what? That's not me. I don't have any issue with any drugs or anything like that. How do they get to the point of having that self awareness? Because, you can blame other people, you can go through all
Mhm.
these different things and you don't have a problem, that's not you. So how do they get to that point?
Getting to the point for me was asking myself the questions,
Mm.
um, like actually having a relationship with myself.
Mhm.
It's just so hard to sit with yourself. It's so hard to look at a situation and dissect it and figure out how you played a part in it.
Mhm.
As soon as we slow ourselves down and we actually look back and see how we played a part in maybe a disaster or in just dinner for the night, whatever it may be, you can sit back and realize the things you do and
Mhm.
learn to love yourself through it. And so for me, I had the addiction issue. I had trauma.
Mhm.
All of my stuff stemmed from trauma, fixing things, trying to be the
Mhm.
fixer of other people's lives and
Mhm.
not and distracting myself from me. So I say
Mhm.
that if you feel like you're a person that's always trying to jump into other people's lives, you probably want to sit with yourself and figure out what's going on with you.
I
Because
love that.
for the most part, a lot of times I noticed that I was the end all be all in corporate America, right? I
Mhm.
was call Sparkle, she'll fix it. Call
Mhm.
Sparkle, she'll do it, right? to the point where I got off on that because I felt needed.
Right.
I was enabling everybody around me, companies,
Mhm.
organizations, people. I was enabling people because of my addiction to fix things,
Mm.
everything but myself.
I love
So if you're listening to the podcast right now, ask yourself, have you taken steps to fix yourself first?
that.
Because that right there is a task in itself.
So true. I'm just saying. I mean, it sounds easy, but that was a
It's
major thing because,
hard.
we hear all the time, you know what? You need to forgive people.
Yeah.
You need to let them go, but you got to forgive yourself. I had to realize that I had a part in my own story, and I
Mhm.
was so busy blaming everybody else that I was like, surely this doesn't even have anything to do with me.
Yeah.
But then when you realize, okay, I didn't have any boundaries, I was people pleasing, I didn't do any self care, you start listening to all this stuff, and it's like, man, I'm over here blaming them, but I'm the one that taught them how to do these things because
Yeah.
I never spoke up and advocated for me.
Right.
So for people who, because it's scary to be with yourself. I don't know what we're thinking. It's going to be the boogeyman or what. So how does somebody start that process? Because we're running so much away from ourselves. How do we start in baby steps listening to ourselves?
Well, the baby steps, I wrote a book.
Mhm.
The book is called Being a Better Me for Me.
Mm.
And the book is tips and tricks to being a better me for me. So
Mhm.
there's 1 through 10 tips and tricks to give you a little bit of sunshine each day.
I
All
love
of
this.
the book and every piece of it is a pocket help guide that you can put in your book in your back pocket, take it with you, and answer the self-reflective questions.
Mm.
Self-reflective questions that are in this book I used with all of my clients because you have no choice but to look at yourself when you're filling
Mhm.
out this book. So the first thing it says is 5 things. And so a lot of us suffer from anxiety. We suffer
Mhm.
from being overwhelmed.
Mhm.
So my thing says, if you ever feel overwhelmed or have anxiety, write 5 things down you're grateful for. Major grateful
Mm.
things that you're grateful for. Okay. Like if it were to be gone today, you're gone today, right? Some
Mhm.
major things. Write them down on a piece of paper and place them in your pocket. Now, when that anxiety and that overwhelmingness comes,
Mhm.
pull them out and read them to yourself.
Mm.
It immediately takes you down to, wait a minute, hold up. I got more to live for
Amen.
than just this traffic that I'm anxious about.
Right.
Because I'm about to be in a 10-car pileup if I don't slow down. And all the people
Exactly.
I'm grateful for and the things I'm grateful for, they're going to be upset because I might not be here over me being
Mhm.
anxious and upset or whatever. Right.
Mhm.
So that's just one thing. There's also in the chapters, it talks about pulling a feelings list. So
Mm.
a lot of people, um, they don't realize it, but being able to ask yourself not how you're doing, but how you're feeling on a regular
Mm.
basis with powerful words. With words have power.
Amen.
So if you start to be able to express certain words that say how you truly feel by meeting yourself where you're at when you wake
Mhm.
up in the morning or when you're going to sleep, you now know what you are feeling for the day or at least for that hour.
Mm.
So now when you go to talk to somebody, ask them how they're feeling too.
Mhm.
And when they ask you how you're feeling, you say,
See you, Jordan.
you say, hey, I'm feeling determined, focused, and
Mm.
ambitious. So immediately someone's like, Sparkle's on fire today. She's ready to go.
Mm.
And what if I wake up and my autoimmunes, I'm not feeling well? I can't lift
Mhm.
my arms. I can't. Well, somebody asks me how I'm feeling. I can say, I'm really achy, I'm sore, and I'm not in the best of moods today. Okay.
Mm.
Now I'm telling myself that.
Mhm.
I'm writing that down on a piece of paper that says, now, Sparkle, you said you're not in the best of moods. So how do you want to be towards others?
Mm.
So do you see how self-reflective that is?
Mhm.
These tips and tricks are so helpful, but they're so basic.
Right.
But
And I
they're
love that.
so deep. They're deep too, because
I'm trying to
as you get going, you're like, I really don't feel good today.
exactly.
And I
And,
really
I
don't
mean, to be able to go
yeah,
through that
yeah,
feeling and recognize it,
yeah.
right? Because
Mhm.
I think for me, I would have these feelings in the past and be covering them up.
Yep.
It's like, "Oh, I don't have time to be
Yeah.
upset. I have to be happy." I have to get along with everybody,
Mhm.
or people say crazy stuff. I can't let that bother me. And then, really it's bother me.
Mhm.
But, so I love that you mentioned that.
And being assertive and being attentive with yourself. Like
Mhm.
learning how to speak up for yourself.
Mhm.
Remember, we have what they call the doormat syndrome. We have what we call where, boundaries, where lines get blurred. You know,
Mhm.
I write in there, it's chapter 9, I think, boundaries, internal and external boundaries. Do
Mhm.
you have them?
Mhm.
That's the only thing I ask. In the workbook, it breaks down in my workbook as well, the Being a Better Me for Me. It breaks down boundaries and
Mhm.
certain things we use to be able to get ourselves out of stuff that we normally would say yes to. So,
Mm.
like, we don't always notice it, but I talked about boundaries. I think it was on Joan King's podcast, but
Mhm.
said the first thing I remember about my boundaries was when I finally got out of out of treatment.
Mhm.
I had somebody call me, and it was my day off, okay, and ask me for a ride because their car had broke down.
Mhm.
Okay, me being the person I am, the fixer, I'm like, oh, yeah, I have a day off. I can pick you up and help you out. Okay. Now, the stuff I had planned for that day was my self care. For
Mm.
I said, sure, no problem, overcommitted, move my stuff to the side,
Mhm.
finally went to pick this person up. And then one ride to a place ended up being my whole day.
Mm.
Gas ran out. I'm on fuel. I mean, like, and only person I could be upset at was me.
Amen.
And finally, I said, okay, something's got to give here. Unfortunately, I understand your car is broke down, but today is my only day off and I will
Mhm.
not be available. Here are some resources to help you.
Mhm. Or, you have another appointment that nobody has
Yeah,
to know what the appointment
yes.
is,
Unfortunately,
because that is just as important.
right. But the issue is that it's not really the fact that I even have to have another appointment or a reason to say.
Exactly.
It's the fact that Sparkle needs to say, I'm not available.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
can't do it.
Yes.
And instead,
So
me
true.
being the fixer, I'm like, well, I could kind of fit it in. No, do not
Exactly.
do that to yourself,
Yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
now I know I'm that person.
Mhm.
So what did I do? Knowing that I have a business now and knowing that I have a schedule that's starting to fill up, okay?
Mhm.
I now am like, I probably need an assistant. Why? Because I am an overcommitter because I
Mhm.
like to fix things.
Mhm.
So do you see how I'm still constantly working on me? Because I'm constantly now saying to my assistant, hey, Rocky, what do I have on Tuesday? And she's like, wham, shows me a picture. And I'm like, I'm not available.
Right.
Instead of when it was just me, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I could fit it in. I'll be in at
Exactly.
8 o'clock p.m. on a Tuesday, but I got to be up at 6 in the morning on like, no,
Yeah.
stop it. You're not available. They'll just have to deal with it.
So true. I
Oh,
love that. Yeah, and I think, I love that you mentioned that it is the pocketbook that
yes.
you have, because so can you speak to us about the work that has to be done in order to get the results? Because I think a lot of people, "Oh, I can have positive thinking, I'm a new person," but the actual work is how we keep that in front of us, top of mind. So,
Mhm.
I think that's something to really talk about.
So it's a practice.
Mhm,
Okay. It's an intention. I
mhm,
don't make it a goal. I make it an intention, a becoming of me. Meaning that
mhm,
if I place these things in my routine daily, waking up in the morning and asking myself how I feel daily,
mhm,
and waking and going to bed asking myself how I feel daily is a practice.
mhm,
So before you know it, the body gets so used to doing these little basic things that the mind and your narrative start to change. You start to grow without even recognizing it.
mhm.
So I like literally have been doing this. I am 2 years and 5 months sober. So literally for 2 years and 5 months, I have followed these things. I have taught these things to millions of my trainees, and they go and they will open up the book. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you are in recovery. It doesn't matter if you're just working on yourself. If you open up to any of these pages and you write them down and you do it consistently every other
Mhm.
day, or just reinvent your routine and place it in there just for you, all of a sudden your body starts to miss it. It
Mm.
starts to say, you know what, I haven't even asked myself how I feel today. That's probably why I'm yelling at everybody.
Mhm. So true.
Even know how I feel right now. And I'm over here in this big parade with these people.
I love that.
You know,
Yeah,
what are they getting from me? And Sparkle, are you slacking? You know,
right.
creating that routine to the point where it's no longer like I made the goal, what's next? No,
Mhm.
this is just what I do. This is just who I am.
Mhm.
And no one can tell me how I feel. No one is supposed to. So
Mhm.
being able to let people know this is how I feel and this is what it is, it gives you a sense of empowerment because
Mhm.
you own your own life's journey. No one else does.
Mhm.
It changes your demeanor. It changes the way you talk to people. It changes the way you use your words.
Mhm.
As soon as you start to practice all these new words that can identify your feelings, when you tell somebody else how you're speaking, it's with a demeanor that is fierce because
Mhm.
you're like, this is who I am and this is how I feel. And if
So
you
true.
don't like that, go over there. But I'm okay with this.
Right. I love that because,
Mhm.
when we really start thinking about the words that we're using, one of the things that has changed for me, I read the book, The Four Agreements, and
Mhm. Yes,
that book is just awesome.
amazing.
But
Mhm.
I look up words now, because you have this thing with in a corporate, imposter syndrome. And
Yep.
I'm like, look, I'm not an imposter. I'm not even, I mean, that doesn't even come to my radar at all. And so
Right.
when I talk to people, it's like, if you want to do something that you don't know how to do it, you just seek counsel. You do
Right.
your research. That
Right.
doesn't mean you're an imposter, but we
Right.
kind of take these terms and just embrace them.
Exactly.
I mean, it becomes the part of the cloth of the industry,
Mhm.
everybody believing that. And I'm like, the
Yeah.
minute you start really saying, "Does this word serve me? Does this
Right.
belief serve me?" I don't have time
Right.
for it.
Right. Or being able to stay in a distinctive matter for yourself. Yeah, I'm not feeling that today. My body
Mhm.
hurts and I need to take time for me.
Mhm.
Okay. It's very difficult to say those things when you don't have boundaries, but it's
So true.
very easy to say those things when you know that you need to take care of you.
Right.
Like, and when I say that, I don't mean like a narcissistic way or a selfish way. I mean
Mhm.
that if your body is not filled with the liquids and the fluid and the nourishment that it needs,
Mhm.
what are you doing? How can you help anybody else? I mean,
So true.
honestly, without having the nourishment that you have, you're basically walking around with one leg and one arm talking about I'll help you.
Right.
I mean,
It
and then
is so
yeah,
true.
and then afterwards feeling like, "Yeah, we did it." I mean, come on,
Right.
like,
Or you complaining the time yourself underneath your breath. You know what I
be
mean?
mad,
You
be
like, "I
mad.
got this one arm and now this arm is gonna be broke."
I got
What
I got
you're
a
saying.
broken arm over here. I ain't got no water. They didn't
I
took
know.
all the water because you said, "It's okay, here, you can take my last." And
It's
then
so true.
and then who you mad at? Yourself. And so
So true. And I think we respect people with boundaries. You know how people who and they don't, it's not that they're rude or anything. It's just like, oh, you know what? I don't do interviews after 7. That's family
yeah,
time or whatever. And you're like, oh,
okay.
okay. You know
Uh-huh.
what I mean? You're not gonna get upset with them, but they
Right,
just told you their boundaries. And I'm like, I don't know why it took me so long to have that for myself. I don't
right.
know.
Or
Yeah.
so long to the point where all of a sudden people feel like they can change your schedule. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, and here's the thing. This stuff happens so quick, the yes does, that you're like, "Oh my God, how did I end up?"
Right.
I mean, this is how I knew I needed assistant. I looked up and I was like, "I have to be." I like, this is a travesty. I have to be here at 9 on a co-host AMP Sports show at 10
Mhm.
on a with 175 countries, but then I scheduled somebody at 11. And so
So true.
so and then I still have a 12, a 1, and a 2.
Yeah.
What am I doing? And then I
So
was like
true.
this, these people scheduled events. So I need to I will be leaving. I won't even be there yet.
Yeah.
So now I'm just backing up. I'm running late. And then I'm sitting there like, I did this to myself.
So true. I mean, you can't even that's so true. And it's like, once you begin no intention. What I tell my kids, it's like you need to know what kind of person you want to date before you start dating. You don't
Yes.
just start building the plane when you're flying because by then you just don't have any intention.
Well,
You're going to be tossed to and fro. But if you're like, okay, this is the kind of person so
mhm,
that when other people that are not in that criteria, you're not even going to be paying attention.
right.
You won't even get distracted.
Or let's talk about this. Okay. So, like you just said, you pick, you need to know what you want, period,
Yeah,
before you go off dating somebody that you can't tell them what you want.
so
Like
true.
you, because then all of a sudden it's their fault that they don't know what you want.
Exactly.
How does that work? If you don't know what you want, how are they going to know? And if
Exactly.
you're not assertive about the things you need in your life with someone so that they know ahead of time when they come into your life, this is
Mhm,
what Sparkle expects. She's
mhm,
had everything out on the table. Okay.
mhm.
This is what she expects. If you cannot give that to her, you now know.
Right.
There's no secrets.
Yeah.
There's no, because to me, I know what I want.
Mhm.
So I'm not playing those games. Now,
Right.
2 years ago, 2 years and 5 months ago, I did not even know myself. I had
Yeah.
no clue what I wanted. And if you were to ask me, I would be like, "Oh yeah, these people they just don't know me." Well, I don't even know me. So at this
So true.
so at this
So true.
at this point, I'm mad at them. Like once
So true.
again, I'm mad
Yeah.
at them because I haven't taken the time to sit with myself and
Mhm.
even realize that the person I'm even talking to at all doesn't even fit me.
Exactly.
And now I'm gonna be mad at them because they because I'm expecting
So true.
from them that they could never give me to begin with. And
Mhm.
because I didn't know it, now we're just going around in circles and upset at each other, but we don't know why. Because Sparkle can't say what she wants.
So true. Yeah.
You know?
And, it's like you're a chameleon
Yeah,
because some of the things that you think you want, it depends on your mood or
right.
what somebody else says or how it
Mhm.
making you feel in the moment or whatever. And it's like, it's like a roller coaster. I was so
Yes.
exhausted with that whole 13-year process. I'm like, it was a hard lesson,
Yes.
but I learned that I had to take accountability,
Yes.
because it
And
was like a revolving door,
and
you know.
see, for me right now, you're so right because you
Mhm.
said it in 13 years, you were going around in a circle. Like, what am I doing? Right. For me now, my assertiveness, like with anybody, friends,
Mhm.
new relationships with people,
Mhm.
I believe that I have learned to be and become very assertive in the things that I want, which
Mhm.
means that when I have a conversation with them, it's clear and concise. I mean, the blurred lines can turn into such a disaster if
Mhm.
you are around someone. So for me, I have lately been running into people who they need my assertiveness. Because
Mm.
if I don't say it, we- we'll just be walking around in la la land talking about it's okay, I guess it's fine. And this whole time I'm thinking that this person's okay with it and they are upset.
Exactly.
And so then here it is. You go to be in a relationship with someone, right? You go to
Mhm.
be in this relationship and let's say you don't put your cards out there.
Mhm.
And let's say you don't let somebody know like this triggers me when you do this.
Mhm.
Okay? Well, all along you're also creating resentment.
Mhm.
And all along you're also being mad at someone who has no clue that you're upset.
So true.
So all along you could be going around in circles, mad about two different things.
Right.
don't know it. And then you're like, let's get a divorce.
Yeah.
And you have no clue how your person's feeling, what's going on with them. And if they don't know what's going on with them, and if there's
Mhm.
no assertiveness, everybody's just walking around aimlessly trying to figure out what's next, but upset about it. Why
Right.
do we do this to ourselves? Because we don't want to face ourselves.
So true. And, that energy that's dealing with the repercussions could be easily intentional on
Right.
creating something new. I love this. There's this one saying about don't try to rebuild the old, but create something new or something like that.
Mhm.
And that is so true. We'll go round and round trying to vamp something, reinvent it, and it's like, hey, ship has sailed.
Yeah.
Let's just build something different because it's too much
Right.
baggage with
Yes.
too many ways that it's affected so many areas. Just start fresh, you know?
Right. My
Mhm.
thing is do the work on yourself. The stuff that I've
Yeah.
learned. Let me tell you something this weekend.
Mhm.
So great. Because no longer is it like strictly on recovery, just on
Mhm.
alcohol and addiction. No
Mhm.
longer is it that, okay?
Mhm.
Is now I'm like this weekend I ran into or this whole for the past 2 weeks I've had 2 great people who have came in my life. They
Mhm.
have done their work. They
Mhm.
don't have drinking problems.
Mhm.
They're very nice people,
Mhm.
and they only want the best intentions for me.
Mhm.
They're healthy. They're somewhat healthy. They go
Mhm.
to therapy, they do their thing, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And let me tell you what I did. I, who's not used to healthy relationships,
Mhm.
right? Because I've been in like disastrous relationships,
Mhm.
learning how to communicate, using drugs and alcohol, not
Mhm.
remembering these things, blacking out, going to jail,
Mhm.
doing all these things, being manipulative. Okay. I have
Mhm.
been living a life of trauma and all of this stuff. And all of a sudden, I've been working so hard on myself that I am becoming the healthy person I have desired to be. And I get
Mhm.
around healthy people and I'm like, oh no, this is too good to be true. I got to sabotage it.
Mhm. So true.
So all of a sudden, they're looking at me like, we're not out to hurt you.
Right.
And I'm looking at them like, but I don't know if I can trust you.
Right.
And now I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, I started crying. I went to therapy. I started crying because I said, I'm sabotaging healthy relationships because it's something I'm not used to.
Right.
But this is such a blessing because that means I am becoming healthier.
Amen.
Do you see and I'm looking here and
Mhm.
saying, this is one of the greatest gifts I could ever feel and see my growth through that, but then
Mhm.
hold myself accountable and say, what have these people actually done that would make me not trust them?
Exactly.
And what have these people done for me already with no intentions behind it, just because
So
they
true.
like me?
So true. Well,
It's
and I think that's a
you
good illustration about how this past will continue to rise up.
yes,
It just
yes,
comes randomly. And
yes.
so that's the work, the practice that you have to
Mhm.
keep doing.
That
Now,
is the whole because I don't believe that if I wasn't doing work and if I wasn't and haven't gotten my ego out of the way, because that
mhm,
always comes back. It will
mhm,
always be there. That's your shadow
mhm,
person. It's going to be there.
mhm,
But
mhm,
working with your shadow and knowing
mhm.
that your shadow also protects you
Yeah,
is important. But there's two sides of you. And it's okay to start trusting, but it's also okay to understand why it's difficult for you to trust.
mhm,
Explore it. Ask yourself, why are you so hesitant? Why do I feel like this? Or
mhm,
is it me creating this chaos because it's
mhm,
something good and I'm not used to goodness? Because
mhm,
sometimes we're not. We're used to having to fight or flight. We got to survive. That's what
mhm,
I've been in. Like, this person's trying to get me for my money.
mhm.
I'm not in any way, shape, or form in that environment any longer. I have
So true.
used that. I have said, this no longer serves a purpose for me. Bring me something in I can work with.
I
Now I
love
ask
that.
God to do it. And out of nowhere, now I want to try to sabotage it.
So true. Well, I was talking to someone yesterday, and I
Yeah.
was saying how, sometimes we just have to jump out of the plane, but
Yep.
that's okay. Just make sure you have a parachute. And so
Exactly.
by that, I mean, sometimes you got to create your own parachute.
Hmm.
Maybe you have an issue with trusting some kind of financial decision.
Right.
Well, then you set a boundary. Okay, I'm going to only invest $1,000 as my boundary
Right.
so that you can trust at a level that you're comfortable.
Hmm.
And if it doesn't work out, you're not out of anything. You set that
No.
boundary for yourself, but you're still stretching yourself.
Exactly.
So we have to learn how to figure out what is the boundary that I can live with
Yes.
and
And
give yourself the grace to do it.
exactly. And then also recognize and be mindful of how we are acting and being present. Because the argument that I was trying to stir up with these two great people
Mhm.
was an argument with myself, because I was having a lot of other people come into my life that have been in my life. A lot of, so like a lot of narcissism is also been around,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Well, these narcissistic tendencies from other people started coming in.
Mhm.
Well, now I've got these healthy people who are not narcissistic.
Mhm.
But I'm taking on what I used to do, and that's arguing that
Mhm.
narcissist. But since this is the first time I did not respond to
Mhm.
these narcissistic tendencies and I just let them go, it still sits with me. It's still a
Mm.
so really and truly, it wasn't anything that they did.
Right.
It's not about it's what I'm going through and now saying, "Oh, I want to respond back to this and I want to fight."
Yeah.
But I cannot do that any longer because that is me letting lingering negative energy
Mhm.
into my circle. And now my higher power brought two healthy people in. Why are you even worried about that, girl? Stop.
Exactly.
Stop right now.
Exactly.
You're a real piece of work and you're creating chaos. Write down your gratefuls and be grateful you found some healthy friends and keep
Amen.
it moving. See what I mean?
Yeah. I
That's
love that.
talking to myself on a regular basis and saying, "Are you trying to sabotage this?"
It's so true.
I
I
was
mean, that's the
like,
thing, we don't wanna be honest. We wanna tell ourselves the stories, and it's like,
yeah,
just ignoring stuff, red flag, you just walking
yes,
right on past it as if it's
yes,
pink, okay?
and
Or got some rose-colored glasses on, crazy
yeah,
stuff. Girl, been there, done that.
and then having the person who's healthy go, "This was what the kicker was."
Mhm.
This is how you know you're around healthy people when they go like this. So is it really about what we're talking about, Sparkle, or is it about the other situation? And I'm like, "Excuse me, what? I'm the coach here." I'm the coach here. What are you doing?
So true.
And she said, just think about it. You're
Mhm.
upset about this, and this, but I've noticed that ever since you received all those really mean text messages from this narcissistic person, your
Mhm.
attitude and your demeanor has changed. You're irritable, you're snappy, and none of us have done anything. So what do you really want to talk about? I was like, oh my goodness, am I being counseled? Okay, I will humble myself.
Amen.
Yes, I am mad at that.
Mhm.
And he's not here for me to be upset, and I'm trying not to. So I'm gonna take it out on y'all and sabotage my
So
health.
true. So true. And I like I said, I'm so glad you brought that up because a lot of people, they feel like, "Oh, you're a coach or you're a mom or you're whatever." It's just so surprising that we see you struggling with this, but that's the reality that people wanna cover up, right? That's
Right,
the highlight reel that
right.
lasts for what, 30 seconds, or how many, edits do you have, or deleted pictures before you finally post the one? I mean, come on now,
Yes,
you
and
know?
then think about this. Emotions are temporary, they're not permanent.
Mhm,
And this is my life. Everything
mhm,
I do, everything Sparkle Lindsay does, I've done for me. It's my life,
mhm,
it's my journey. People are following that journey and I respect it. But what
mhm.
you see is what you freaking get. And as
Yeah,
far as I'm concerned, there ain't nothing to hide here because I'm growing in this and I will be for the rest of my life.
yeah.
And I have to stop for a second and say, girl, you a real piece of work.
Mhm.
Getting ready to push healthy people away, run up. Look, I was about to get up, like, you know what? It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter because you know what? You guys just think it's fine. You know, I'm just gonna go. Like
Right.
I was literally going to leave great relationships and
Mhm.
never come back because of other people affecting me.
So
And she
true.
said, I would prefer you not. I said, oh my goodness, somebody done called me out.
So true.
I
I love
respect
that.
that though, because
Yeah.
I have to sit in that discomfortable feeling, but
Mhm.
learn the gift of being comfortable with being uncomfortable for the rest
Amen.
of my life. And I'm
Mhm.
okay with that. I believe in myself enough to say that if you ain't got nothing to work on, you ain't working hard enough.
So true.
Especially on this, you can go out of your way to do all these things for all these people, give away all your water, and do nothing for you, and then be upset as to why you made the decision. You're worth it.
Yeah.
Go get what you need to get for you. The better you
Mhm.
do that, the better you feel better about yourself, the better it will reciprocate to others. And
So true.
others will get that demeanor and that
Mhm.
feeling. They'll do it on their own.
Mhm.
They don't need you to do it for them.
So
And you
true.
don't need to do it for them, or you need to do it for you. And then
Right.
showcase that action so others know I need to do what I got to do for me. And that
Mhm.
doesn't mean just take care of me. That means make sure that your body, mind, and spirit are all the way full with
So
nothing
true.
but nourishment and abundance. And if that starts going down, we're gonna have to take a second. Y'all gonna have to move back.
It's so true. And,
I'm not
I
even
think and
around it,
see,
you
this
know?
is the whole thing about being unhealthy. See,
Mhm.
when you are unhealthy, you
Yep.
do things for people that they could do for themselves.
E
You know
exactly.
what I'm saying? You over here, like, trying to help them breathe and doing all this stuff that they can do on their own, and once you
Ma'am.
have healthy boundaries, it's like, "Okay, well, Imma need you to do your homework,
Mm,
for this session. When we come back next time, I'm expecting you to do A,
mhm.
B, and C."
Yeah.
Now, if they don't do any work, oh, well,
Yeah.
then you gonna be like, "Look, when you're ready to get coached or,
Mhm. Yep.
change your atmosphere or whatever, feel
Yep.
free to give me a call back." But if you don't
Yes.
have boundaries, you're like, "Oh, what can I do? How can I help them?" Doing
What's
all this
going
stuff.
on? Yeah.
Girl,
Let
been
me get
there, done that.
for you. Yeah, no, no, no. As and that's the thing. Somebody asked me, what's the difference between a recovery coach and a sponsor or a recovery coach and a therapist? Oh, major differences.
Mhm,
My life as a coach is based off of my life experience. I
mhm.
ain't gonna tell you some stuff that ain't real.
Right.
Because I'm in it right
Yeah,
now. I'm in
yeah.
it every day in the moment. That's the only thing
Mhm,
I have to look forward to is in the moment right now. But
mhm.
I can tell you this, I can't do it for you, and I won't.
Right.
I will
Yeah.
walk alongside you. I will guide you. I will
Mhm.
give you the resources to make yourself the most amazing person that you want to be. But I
So
will
true.
not do it for you. And if you're not ready, come back later when you are. I'll
Yeah,
be here. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to chase you. I'm not going to follow you. I'm not going to do any of those things because then that defeats the purpose of my recovery and who I am and me being a better
amen.
me for me. So
So
we
true.
cannot misconstrue these things because next thing you know, we start distracting ourselves from ourselves.
Right.
We're getting outside of ourselves. Now we
So
snapping at everybody and getting upset because we've now taken ourselves out of the equation and put
exactly.
everybody else in the mix. And now we ain't got no water and ain't
So
nobody
true.
giving us nothing.
Well, and I always use the analogy of a basketball coach.
Uh-huh.
You're not gonna see a basketball coach out there on the court playing none of the plays.
Yeah.
Okay, so why do we think that
Yeah.
we need to have a coach that's gonna be out there? That coach is over there making a plan and with your input, though.
Yes.
You're telling them what your strengths are, what you're willing to commit to,
Right.
and then you go into playing the game. You're not going in and out doing all that other
Right.
crazy
And
stuff.
and guess what else a basketball coach ain't gonna do? A
Mm,
basketball coach is not gonna be like, oh, you threw the ball away 7 times? Well, let me help you with that. No, a basketball coach is going to say, now listen, you threw the ball away 7 times.
mhm.
So help me understand how we can keep that from happening next game. You
Yeah,
write down what we need to do to help you be better for you on that court. And
exactly.
there's a difference in coaching
Mhm.
and knowing how to coach effectively. That's another thing.
Amen.
You got millions of people walking around. I'm a coach. I'm a this. People create. people creating these new roles as coaches,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking in my head as a coach, I'm a basketball player, turned
Mhm,
down the WNBA, a lot of different things. But one thing I know, my family, we're very well known for coaching, instructing, and training. But
mhm,
what we know is that we will give you the resources to be successful. You
mhm,
have a fundamentals plan, and we give you that fundamentals plan so you can be a better dribbler.
mhm.
Now, I can't dribble for you, and you want to get a scholarship, right?
Right.
So what you gonna do? You gonna wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and do the fundamentals camp so you can learn how to dribble better and get yourself a
Mhm.
scholarship, or you gonna sit there and hold on to the paper and not do nothing? Because at this point,
Exactly.
there's nothing I can do. This is what separates champions.
Mhm.
So be a champion at your life.
Amen.
By the horns and say, you know what? Sparkle gave me this Being a Better Me for Me book. Might as well self reflect something. Couldn't
Mhm.
maybe I'll find out a lot of things about myself, and
Amen.
a lot of people say that. I challenge you to sit with
Mhm.
yourself and ask yourself, what am I doing and how am I playing a part in my life?
I
And
love
am
it.
I doing enough? Because if you're not
Mhm.
doing enough, it's never too late to get started,
I
right?
love that.
Never too late. And
Mhm.
it's never too late to get somebody that says, girl, you better get up because it's never too late to get started.
Amen. Amen. That is so true. Well, this has just been a great conversation. Girl, I could go on for hours, and, I am just loving the content, though, because I think it is so true. I love
Mhm,
the element of the reality. People look at your highlight reel, they see where you are,
mhm.
all the things that you're doing, and they think, "Man, she has everything going for her. I can't do it." But
Oof.
when people hear your story about what you have overcome and what you still battle with every day.
Yeah,
I don't know why people think, "Oh, well, when you make it kinda, where you're doing what you wanna do,
right.
and all the obstacles get out of the way." I
No.
mean, look at the people that were motivational speakers and live events and then pandemic. I mean, what are they thinking is going on?
Yeah.
So, I love the fact that you brought that up because, this is the thing that I, have found on my journey
Uh-huh.
is I love to eliminate the excuses for people because I had a lot of them.
Mhm.
I was so busy not working on me because I was dealing with the excuses. Well, I can't do it. I got my baby. I'm breastfeeding.
Yeah.
They're potty training. It was always something. And when I learned, look, I am going to get committed to doing what I got to do. I don't care what comes up. That will help people, be inspired because it's like, look, if they don't have any excuses, what's my excuse?
Right. Mhm.
So
And
I love that.
I think what you just said is a big portion of people thinking like, "I made it."
Right.
But in all reality, like, now that if you did make it, now you got to deal with that too.
Right.
And if you don't know yourself and you made it, did you really make it?
Right.
Because I can tell now that running my own business, but still being in recovery comes first. That's how
Mhm.
I got here. So
Mhm.
all of a sudden, I made it to my business and I'm now a motivational keynote speaker. Well, let's not forget what got me here.
Amen.
And those things will always be a practice for me for the rest of my life because
Mhm.
sobriety for me comes first.
Mhm.
Me comes first, right?
Mhm.
And so that's always a practice because I don't know how I'm going to react to running my own business as a recovering
Mhm.
alcoholic addict. I don't
Mhm.
know how I'm going to react to all of a sudden having healthy relationships and then it hit me this weekend.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I don't know, but I do know that I've done enough work on myselk to sit in it, work through it,
Mm.
no emotions are temporary, not permanent, and continue moving forward because I have and I am equipped with the tools and the techniques to
Mhm.
continue moving forward. And if it's something new to add to the recipe, well, that's okay too. I'm ready for it. But I
Mhm.
gotta put myself in a place to be ready for it
I
first.
love that.
You
That
know,
is so true.
So yeah.
Yeah. That's some good stuff, girl. Hey, well, I am just want to thank you so much for
Mhm.
coming on. I mean, do y'all see what I'm talking about? It seems like I've known her forever. We talking about everything. But that's just how it is. When you have those connections, I think there's something about being able to be transparent.
Mhm.
When you're able to be transparent, you really can have some meaningful conversations.
Yeah.
I mean, I get insight from people on my network because I'm willing to tell the truth about myself.
Uh-huh.
I
Yep.
like I know you got a story, but I'm like, I was living a lie, girl, covering
Mhm.
stuff up, wearing this mask, that mask. Look, it was a part of me hanging out. I didn't know it. I'm thinking I'm covered up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's even the
I
best
was
part is
listening to somebody one time and they said, "Oh, you really don't think you're a horse, but you got hay in your mouth."
or
You're
you think you I think about all the times that I was like, "Yeah, they can't tell I'm drunk." Okay.
right. It's just
All the
crazy.
all the times that they couldn't tell I was geeked out on cocaine, and I'm sitting there saying, "Here's what we're gonna do." And all along, now that I look at some of those pictures, I am like,
What was I
"What
thinking?
was I doing? I'm a real piece of work."
And it's so crazy. But the thing about it, like we were in a room earlier on Clubhouse, and
Mhm.
what it has shown me is that pain looks the same.
Yes.
The root cause of it may be different.
Yes. And the thing
But
is,
this is the thing, it's the same.
and girl, that root cause is
Hmm.
your addiction.
Right.
So remember that. Just
Hmm.
because I'm an alcoholic addict, my
Hmm.
addiction is actually wanting to be needed.
Hmm.
I have found that out that now I like go searching for reasons to be needed, like
Hmm.
overeating.
Yeah.
So
So
like,
true.
and then it stresses me out. And then I'm like, oh my God, I need a drink. See what I mean?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
that root cause of fixing and being like, and then this person didn't have any way to get there. So that what do you have a car to get places, Sparkle? Yeah. So
exactly.
why are you worried? Why are you what are you doing? You know,
Exactly.
so those are the things that,
Mhm.
I've noticed in my life now that like, wait a minute, I need to be working on that inner addiction piece. Now
Amen.
that I know my why, like why I drank or why I
Mhm.
overeat or why I don't work out, right? Now that I
Mhm.
know the why, work on the why. I can guarantee you
Right.
in the symptom, it dissolves because it's a
So true.
symptom. But that root cause stuff never goes away if you don't recognize it. It never
I
goes
love that.
away. It just
Yeah,
comes back in a different form
a
when
different
you use
form.
the symptom, and then you
Yeah,
over.
and if it's a relationship, it's just a different person, but the same issue.
Same thing, because you never even understood that you didn't know yourself in the first place to tell them what you're
Exactly.
doing. So you're just breaking up with a bunch of people and doing the same thing.
So true. Well, and then, having your part in it. I was listening to Les
Yeah.
Brown, and he said, "Have you ever noticed that whenever you have a problem, that you're with the problem?" I was
That's why all of a sudden you sit there and you go, that's what I did. I said,
right.
and now I'm trying to leave these healthy people and storm out. Oh, and then they said, we would prefer if you don't. And
Yes,
I'm like, oh, great. Now I even got, I am the
exactly.
problem. They sitting here like, we can talk about this.
Exactly. Exactly. That is so true. Well, this has just been great. So, tell everybody how they can get your book, the name of it again and all that, and how they can get a hold of you.
Well, Being a Better Me for Me is out on Amazon.
Mhm.
You can get it. You can do the Kindle version. The
Mhm.
I actually did the audio version for it, and then
Oh.
also you can have it taken with you and just put it in your back pocket. The paperback version as well.
Mhm.
The workbook will actually be out in the next 3 weeks, so you can do the whole thing plus your tips and tricks. Take it with you, and that's all on Amazon. Uh,
Awesome.
and then also my website, sparklelindsay.com. It has if you want to be a recovery coach, want to do what I'm doing, I
Mhm.
train recovery coaches to be great recovery coaches. So I do have classes throughout the months for people to do. I have a lot of leaders that come to me and ask
Amen.
for becoming recovery trainers. And a lot of those leaders, I help leaders out of the depths of addiction. A lot of those
Mm.
leaders are starting to work on us. And that in turn is helping it trickle down through companies,
Mhm.
through organizations, so that so that leaders can start to understand that they have their full cup as well. And that
Mhm.
they shouldn't be sacrificing themselves first, because
Mhm.
if a leader is not okay, then what does that say for anyone else if we're trying to lead somebody?
Exactly.
So the training piece really is a self-reflective training.
Mhm.
And then ask yourself, have you been doing the things you need to do while you're trying to help everybody else? Have you helped
Right.
yourself enough? So a great training, and it's on that website, lots of great videos, and also ways to get a hold of me through social media, every aspect, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of those things. LinkedIn is a huge one for me.
Mhm.
But for the most part, you can contact me through the numbers that are on that website. Send me registrations and everything, and I respond back pretty quickly. Uh,
Love that.
if you are dealing with a crisis, please call your crisis hotline.
Mhm.
One of the biggest pieces we're dealing with right now in October is the changing of the seasons. And so,
Mhm.
for a lot of us, whether it's mental health, whether it's addiction issues, in
Mm.
anything, because of the change of the weather and the seasons, you see a lot more suicide rates go up.
Mm.
See a lot more co-occurring, bipolar things start to happen. People start to get more manic.
Mhm.
A lot of it is because we're going into a different change. So if you feel your body doing something, it's probably telling you the right things. So don't
Mhm.
act as if it doesn't exist, because if you're a person who suffers from depression, I do. I
Mhm.
am starting to recognize that depression piece right now. It's the
Mhm.
change. It's the fact that the sun comes down earlier.
Mhm.
It's the fact that it's getting colder, so
Mhm.
just remember, these things are things that the body will tell you are
Mhm.
happening. And this is the first thing you can do to even recognize who you are as a person and how you may have slid into depression to begin with.
Amen. I love
So
that.
just a few ways to interact. And like I said, I'm always available as far as on my website and contacting me. So yeah, sparklelindsay.com.
This has been awesome. So,
Uh,
what final thoughts would you like to leave with everybody? Somebody who's watching, just any final words that you would like to say to them.
my final words are this. One thing I can say is that trust yourself, trust in your body. No matter what's going on around you, have the courage to change the things you can with you. As
Mm,
soon as you do that, everything else will fall into place. And not only that, but stay present and in the moment. There's
mm,
many times that we forget about the small things or the things that help us be successful. And a lot of it is just being present in today.
mhm,
We focus on the things that create our anxieties, and that's the future, which may never happen at all.
mhm,
Don't throw yourself into that stressful situation. Don't do it.
mhm,
Trust in yourself, trust in the ability to do the things that you want to do.
mhm.
Ask yourself what you're deserving of. Tell yourself what you intend to be. Throw it into existence and manifest it. It's inevitable it will happen, especially if you believe in it.
I
That's what I can say.
That's
Throw it
awesome.
into existence because it will happen.
I love that. Well,
Yeah.
this has just been great. So, I am so glad that we were able to connect. We were able to get
Yes,
you
me
on.
too.
And this was just awesome. So, for those of you that are watching, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Sparkle.
Yes. Mhm.
Share this video. I mean, it's some great content. There may be one of your friends or
Mhm.
acquaintances or somebody that could really benefit from the conversation, because I think sometimes it's awkward to talk about,
Mhm.
some of these elephants in the room is what I
Mhm.
say. And so you don't even have to talk about it. You could just share the video, okay? And let us do all the talking for you because we've covered a lot.
Yeah. Just share it. Whoever gets it, that resonates with me today.
Hey, it's so true. It's so true.
Exactly.
So thank you guys so much for
Yes.
watching.
Thank you.
And Sparkle, again, thank you so much. And
Oh,
I'm
thanks for
looking
having
forward to
me.
our next collaboration, girl.
Oh, yes, we got to do it soon. I appreciate you and I value it. And I just want to say thank you for, being that ear, that active
Mhm,
ear of listening.
mhm,
Sometimes we have lots to say. So to know that someone's willing to hear and someone's willing to interact and actually have clear, concise communication, it means a lot to me and I value that.
yeah.
So
Well,
thank
you are so welcome and thank you. Hey, we both working together. Look, what are we? We both a piece of work, girl.
you. Yeah, a real piece of work, a real piece of work.
A real piece. Okay. Well,
Okay.
thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see y'all on the next episode.
Yeah,
Bye for now.
bye.